Hey folks, here at OS Reviews, you're watching our video first look and a quick review of an all-in-one VR goggle. It's called the VR S600 and it sells on GearBest for only $48, which is extremely inexpensive for something that has a built-in 5.5-inch full 1080p display. So it has all the components of a dedicated unit where it's nothing like Google Cardboard that requires you to insert your own phone into the helmet, and it's basically just a plastic shell. This has all of the processing, all of the display integrated into a unit that you can pick up and start using. If you guys remember, about a year ago, we actually did a review on a more expensive version that retailed at the time for about $380. It's essentially the same as this, except it had an Android operating system that was customized called Nibiru, and it's still commonly used on a lot of dedicated all-in-one 3D VR glasses on the market, but you can opt for a version like this, which omits the smartphone or Android operating system, and it's basically just gives you the option to view back videos. It doesn't allow you to play back games or anything. That is significantly lower cost. And again, this is really exciting because I think the parts alone, if you consider the 5.5-inch OLED 1080p display that they're using, is probably worth more in some ways than the asking price, so it really is a steal. The packaging here is very simple. It's quite generic looking. It does support side-by-side 3D, so you can think of this as kind of a head-mounted display or an early video glasses, a private cinema for your eyes, and you can load up a micro SD card. There is one included that has 8 gigabytes of your favorite movies, of music, and other content that you would want to watch back. Otherwise, very simple presentation. You can see it has, again, a virtual screen size of about 80 inches or so. That's the claim. In my testing, it was closer to something like 100 inches, at least. That's what I felt like. And it does have access to, again, a micro SD card slot, and you can play back 2D and 3D video files. So the packaging itself, simple. Inside we have just the glasses themselves. We'll take a closer look at this in a second. There's also the user manual, which is fairly scarce. There's not too much information on here. It simply is charged up using a standard micro USB cable, which is also included, and you also get some pretty generic looking kind of headphones or earbuds. Of course, you can use your own since it's just a standard 3.5mm jack. Anyways, if we take a closer look at the design of the unit, it really isn't bad. For something that's under $50, it feels a lot more expensive than you would think. The plastic here is actually polycarbonate, and it feels surprisingly hefty, about the same as the aforementioned Nibiru version of the all-in-one VR. It's actually pretty similar in weight and overall dimensions to something like an Oculus Rift, PlayStation VR, even HTC's Vive. So it's very similar in terms of its weight and its build, which is excellent at this price. On the top, you have access to a navigation control for going up, down, left, and right, and OK to select through the very basic menu. And on the edge here, we have access to a few other controls. There's a power key that you need to tap on for about 3 seconds to turn the unit on. There's a small LED indication light that will glow when it's turned on. There's also a menu key that you can hold for 3 seconds when you're in a video to go back into the menu, or you can tap on it once to bring up additional settings. For the 3D side-by-side 3D mode, you can tap and hold on this key, and that will do the trick. And this is another kind of back key. On the front here, you have access to the micro USB port for charging. By the way, after you fully charge it up, it takes roughly 2.5 hours. You can get roughly, in my testing, around 6 to 7 hours of continuous use before you need to recharge it again. So that should get you, sufficiently through a flight. If you're taking it with you for traveling purposes, you can watch maybe 3 or 4 films before you need to recharge it. There's also a built-in headphone port. There's the micro SD card slot, and then on the side here, you have adjustments for the focal point for the lens. And on the bottom, there's basically nothing, just padding for the nose. And it's definitely not super lightweight, but because there is an additional kind of strap that distributes the weight on the top of your head, this goes over your head kind of like a modified helmet, so it supports the weight actually pretty well. If you're wearing this for about 2 hours, you do notice a little bit of strain, so maybe you can kind of lie back, and then that feels slightly more comfortable. Again, this is for the focal, distance for the 2 lenses, which are using, I believe, Japanese import optics, and it works pretty well. Something that's interesting about these lenses in particular is they actually will work without the need for additional glasses. So even if you have prescription glasses, if you're nearsighted or farsighted, you actually can take those off and still use these without any problems at all, which is in comparison with something like Google Glass or a lot of other mainstream VR helmets, which still require you to wear glasses to get the most focused image. So the boot up time is actually very quick since there's no complicated operating system that needs to be fully loaded, so it takes less than 5 seconds after you tap on the power key. Underneath the hood, it's technically running on a Toshiba 800 megahertz processor, which, doesn't seem lightning fast in today's world of ultra portable computers as well as fancy smartphones. However, it does the trick for watching back movies. You have to remember that this isn't going to be something that you are using for gameplay. It's dedicated for movie watching and as a portable cinema device. There, of course, are a few limitations. There's no, Wi-Fi, so you can't actually connect it to a smartphone. There's no way to physically connect this to a computer, so it can't be used as, a secondary display. But if you load up your own content, then it works actually quite well. So looking through kind of one of the lenses, this is what the display is like. You can see that it is an AMOLED panel, which means that the contrast between the blacks and the colors are actually quite good. So the saturation levels, I think, are fairly impressive, especially considering the price. You can see the menu here is super simple. It just gives you a list of all of the files, whether it's movies, MP4 files, or just images that's loaded onto the card, and it will try to play it back when you tap on OK. And that's essentially it. So super simple. You will notice that the resolution, it seems pretty good, but there still is kind of a slight pixelation that you can tell if you are really picky, or if you're staring at text that's really small. Even though it has a full 1080p panel, for things like VR, that's where higher resolutions like 2K displays or 4K displays are actually beneficial, since the display is placed so close to your eyes that it technically, is halved in VR mode. So especially if you turn on 3D, it's basically a 720p panel. In terms of immersiveness, it actually works quite well. It blocks out a good portion of light just by nature of this design. And if you are in a slightly darkened environment, if you're on a flight and you don't have too much lights going on, it does feel like you're in a private movie theater, which is pretty good. The sound quality on these are actually decent as well. I wouldn't say it's outstanding, but for watching back movie clips, it packs sufficient volume and you can adjust it to your liking. You can, of course, use more expensive headphones or active noise canceling headphones if you're on a flight, and you can pair that yourself by plugging it into the standard headphone port. So the overall solution feels actually quite complete and works fairly well. One thing I will say though is that with the lens adjustments, you can see at its widest kind of mode, you can see a kind of a slight sliver, and that's because when it's at the closest, it needs to be compact enough so that the two lenses, won't interfere. But that does mean that there's a little bit of light leaking out, where you can technically see, this is what the magic is, the real display underneath without the lens. Which may distract a little bit from the immersiveness if you are using it in this particular mode. But in my testing, it seems to be comfortable enough, and most people will probably use it when it's kind of closer together. So overall, not too big of a problem. So here's a time-lapse video that's capturing what seems like a city from night to daylight, and it's actually a 720p video file. And another quick demo of what a kind of short animated film may look like. And if I tap on 3D, this is what it switches into. So of course you can't tell on this camera because there aren't kind of two lenses, but indeed it does work, and the transition is actually quite quick if you want to activate that mode. So no real problems. Obviously you get a much wider field of view when you're actually wearing this. You're only seeing a small portion with this camera since it's hard to capture the experience of VR, but overall, again, it's fairly immersive. Otherwise, files that are encoded in MP4, AVI, and MKV all play back without any problems up to 1080p. So 720p files or 1080p files will both work. And in terms of images, you can play back JPEG files. It doesn't have really a limit on the resolution and the size there. So there's no real problems there, and just you have to watch out about I guess some movies which might be a little bit picky, because I did try and load back a few longer ones. An example would be, let me see if I can find one, the second one over on this list, which is actually a full feature film. And if you tap on OK, it actually will give you an error message that says this file format is not supported. Really, that just means that the file itself is too large and it's a little bit too demanding for this specific device. So in general, it's not too big of a problem. I only encountered it once in a while, and maybe you can fix that problem by converting it to a lower resolution or a lower frame rate. But that is something to keep in mind, that it isn't just a secondary display where you can just plug it into a computer and everything will play back without any problems at all. But overall, it works actually pretty well for this price, again, considering that it's only $48. That's pretty much it as far as our hands-on first look and quick review. If you aren't looking for something to play back mobile games or to browse the web with, but instead you're just using it to watch media entertainment that you've downloaded already onto a library or onto an SD card, and this actually makes for a pretty good kind of head-mounted display or virtual reality goggles. Just know that it's not designed for gameplay per se, but just for cinema and video watching only. So possible use cases for this obviously would be traveling. It can also maybe work for places where you're really limited on space. You don't have room for a projector or room for a full-blown television, but you still want a large screen experience, and this is I guess a use case for that. At this price, it's really hard to complain too much. You can check out more details about this in our official written article, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the all-in-one VR S600 video glasses.